Episode 173, weighing in with Travis Hartman. I am B Money, the producer. That over there is the talent, Weekend Trav, aka Travis Hartman. We got a pretty exciting card here on Amazon Prime this weekend. Weekend Trav.
Got it.
Perhaps you want to chat about that, specifically the main event, but there's some good stuff on the undercard. What do you got over there this
Okay.
coming Saturday, Amazon Prime?
We got David Benavidez versus David Morrell. The reason why I like this fight is mainly because David Benavidez, if anybody knows that name, he's been calling out Canelo Alvarez for like years now. And nobody calls out David Benavidez. But this guy, David Morrell, who nobody's really heard of, but he's 11-0 with, I believe, like 9 knockouts, a lefty under the radar. Nobody knows who he is, but Warriors Boxing has him, I believe it is, who also co-promotes with Box Lab right here in Orlando, Florida. But David Morrell called out Benavidez, which all of us were like, what? Nobody calls out David Benavidez. So this guy called him out. I actually think this is a very interesting fight. I don't think at this point David Benavidez can afford a loss because then he really gets erased from the whole Canelo conversation, even though now he moved up to 175. This is a light heavyweight fight. Canelo's at 68, but David Benavidez moved up because I think he was just too big to make that weight, but also he realized that he couldn't get Canelo. So he's going to go after, Better Beeve, the winner of Better Beeve and Bivol, the rematch they're having that's coming up as well next month. Um, but I think it's an interesting fight, B Money. I think David Benavidez, they call him the monster. By all accounts, it looks like people have been dodging him. I don't know that Canelo's ducking him necessarily, but it does appear that way. I don't know what their reasoning is, but it does appear that Canelo's ducking him, but I don't think Canelo's afraid of anybody. Canelo's fought the best. Canelo's went up like 5 weight divisions and fought people. I don't think he's afraid of Benavidez. But I don't know. It's a great fight. Morrell versus Benavidez. I'm not calling an upset, but I wouldn't be surprised if that makes sense. Like, I think David Morrell's very untested, but from everything that I've witnessed, the guy's pretty good. And he's a lefty. I mean, he's only got 11 fights and they rushed those careers of those guys. I believe he's Cuban. I think. Let me make sure. I believe he's Cuban descent. Yeah, he's 27-year-old from Cuba. You know how they don't pad those guys' records, big money. You know, those guys from Cuba come over here and they fight 12 rounders like their second pro fight.
Yeah. Yeah. He's listed at 27, but he might be 47. We're not sure.
Yeah, he looks young, but they do
Yeah.
fudge those
Yeah, has
birth.
has a reach advantage, which is surprising because David Benavidez has a massive reach. But so let me give you these two stats. We got Benavidez coming in at a 74.5-inch reach, whereas Morrell 78.5, 4-inch difference on that reach. That was kind of surprising when I saw that.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I'm actually super surprised because Morale's 6'1". I believe David Benavidez is around that same height
Six
too,
two, yep, yep, 6'2",
which is
Benavidez, yep.
crazy. A
Hmm.
78-inch reach? Because what,
Yeah.
six foot would be a 72-inch reach. You're telling me he has 6.5
Like
more than his wingspan?
this could be an intriguing one between the interim WBC light heavyweight champ Benavidez and the WBA current WBA light heavyweight champ Morrell Jr. Do we know? I didn't see. Is it for any of those random belts or is it
No,
just a
here's the
grudge
deal.
match?
It's well, for one, it's a bullshit. It is a belt, but it's a bullshit belt because
Correct. Yeah.
we all know that Beterbiev and Bivol own all of those titles at 75. But they made this interim bullshit for David Benavidez and Morrell. It's bullshit. I'm sorry, guys. It is. It's bullshit. Say what you want. The true champions of that weight class right now are Beterbiev and Bivol. He
Right.
has the title. So if somehow Benavidez wins this fight and can beat those guys, then I'll give him credit. But right now, it's a bullshit title, and we got to call it what it is. It is that.
Well,
It's a made up one.
I saw Morrell throw his belt with a limp-wristed throwing style at Benavidez during one of the face-offs like a day or two ago. It wasn't a very impressive toss.
Yeah, none of those are world title belts. They're not. They can say what they want.
Yeah.
Those are not world title belts. They're
You would think
interim
you would
world
respect
title.
your own belt anyways by not throwing it at somebody, but yeah, who am I?
I mean, dude, we're the WWE B money. Like they fill those belts all the time. They
I don't
smash
think
people's
they.
heads
I
in
don't
them.
know. Well, that's different. That's different. Hopefully, that's not what this is going to be. But
No, I think it's gonna be a real fight.
it's an intriguing matchup. You got an orthodox fighter with a southpaw. So you have some different dynamics that can make this a bit entertaining. I don't know if it was Benavidez' last fight or the fight before that, but it wasn't. What I watched wasn't impressive. And I don't recall if it was this same weight class that he had moved up to, and he didn't look
It
as
was.
dangerous as he had, in the past, in the smaller weight classes. He just kind of looked normal. He won, but he just kind of looked okay. I think with the distance too, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you're 100% correct. He did. So his last fight, he moved to 75. He fought a full-fledged 75 pounder. Also, David Morrell did the same thing and also had a very ho-hum decision win.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
still won, but sometimes they set the bar so high when you're undefeated and they're really good fighters. David Benavidez is a good fighter, so is David Morrell. They set the
Yeah.
bar so high. Even when you have a very close fight, you're like, oh my God. But they both did. You're not wrong. You're exactly right. David Benavidez' last fight was not impressive.
Yeah.
Neither was Morrell's.
Alexander, I can't pronounce his last name, a Ukrainian fighter.
Galotskin or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a
Who's
he,
that guy's a former champ. He's good though, but
yeah,
he looked average. Benavidez did. He did. To be fair, he did.
yeah. So I guess we shall see here with these two guys. And this is what, Saturday?
Yeah, this is February 1st. It's on Amazon Prime pay-per-view, and it's in Las Vegas. I mean, Vegas is back, baby.
All right, there you
T-Mobile
go.
Arena in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Viva
So
Las Vegas.
anything on that undercard to pay attention to?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna tell people a fan-friendly fight. If you actually genuinely want to watch a fan-friendly fight, no matter who you're rooting for, Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton is
Sure.
going to be an action-packed fight. I think it's going to be if the main event doesn't deliver, I believe this fight will deliver because Brandon Figueroa just comes and throws a tons of punches. Stephen Fulton is very good. Stephen Fulton, if I believe, his only loss was
In a way.
to Inoue. That
Yep.
and he came back and he fought and won a decision over Carlos Castro, and now he's fighting Brandon Figueroa. So you're right there. Good call, P Money. It was
I remember
Inoue.
watching that, and he gave in a way some trouble early, but I think in a way is now at a point in his career where he kind of feels people. He's like Canelo. He kind of feels people out for like one or
Mhm.
two, and then he just destroys them, in round 4, 5, or 6. But
Yeah,
and that was the case, I think, with this Fulton one. I can't remember. I think it was. Ooh,
I'll tell you.
I know where I was watching it.
Eight
I
rounds.
was in your gym upstairs watching it because it's all in Japan. And it's always at like
Oh,
7
that's
a.m.
right. You were training CJ. That's right. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but he ended up making 8 rounds. But I think Fulton, to be fair, he's a very slick boxer, and he
He
did very
is.
well for I
He
think
is.
about 4 rounds even, and
Yeah.
then it kind of went downhill after that.
Yeah.
But that's just one of the fights on there. There's actually a couple other fights. Isaac Cruz is scheduled to fight on there. It says there's some decent fights. That's a good one. Jose Benavidez, who fought Terrence Crawford is David Benavidez, his brother. He's also on that card. So there's a lot of people on this card. There's a guy, I believe, Kaipo Gallegos, who I believe is signed with Box Lab. He's fighting on that card. He's only 18 years old, and he's like, I think, let me see his record. I believe I know he's undefeated, 7-0, and 18-year-old. So that's going to be an interesting fight. It has a little bit of an Orlando, Florida
Yeah.
touch
Yeah.
to it because I believe Box Lab is bringing him along. So there's going to be some exciting fights on that card. I honestly, be money. I don't say it often, but I think it's worth the money to buy this pay per view because you're not just getting one good fight. I think you're getting 3 or 4 very
Yeah.
interesting
Here's
fights.
where you and I might differ on that because $80 is pretty steep, I think, for this on Amazon Prime, 79.95. And we were talking before we start hitting record and go into 173 here. With David Benavidez, the boxing fan, if you love him, you love him. But then I think if you don't love him, I just don't think you care about him. There's no like fans on both sides of the aisle for him. It's either you really love him and think Canelo's ducking him, or the other side of the aisle is like, I really just don't care. That's my take, anyways. So I think just $80, it seems like a steep price tag for this. That's my opinion. $80 weekend Trev.
I think is the reason why you're not wrong. I think this is more of like a 49.99, 59.99, but
Yeah, so I think
we
in
still
that
got
realm,
we
yeah.
still got inflation going on right now, so maybe that's why. But I think that the reason why they put that price tag is, and the reason why it will sell, is because one, you have a Mexican in David Benavidez. He's fighting a Cuban. So I think you're bringing in that demographic. That's why I think it will sell because of that demographic.
Well,
But is Benavidez a household name?
I had a
No.
joke. I had a joke. I don't know if it's going to hurt our viewership when I make this joke, but
I think you should get
yes,
it.
I think
We're
it.
let's be comedians.
I think he has this definitely a strong Mexican audience for sure. $80 a little steep. And another problem working against him is now that so many being deported, he might lose out on some fan base. However, I think the peso to dollar exchange rate might lower that 79.95 price tag ultimately if they get to catch it in Mexico City. So that might help. That might help at least viewer numbers.
I mean, listen, just because they're deported doesn't mean they can't still watch it.
Hey, Ice, just take a break on Saturday and let them watch David Benavidez fight David Morrell.
Our viewership has already plummeted off
I'm
already, so I think we're safe.
I'm quarter Mexican. I can make that joke. It is what it is.
I mean, I'm married to a Hispanic. Does
Quite the
that
same.
count?
Not quite the same.
Latino?
Sure,
Latina?
sure.
Okay.
Okay. So there that is. Amazon Prime this Saturday. Check it out. If you have $80 burning a hole in your pocket, and we can try the earlier this week, and maybe we want to touch on it briefly because nothing's confirmed. It's just a lot of hearsay and rumor mill and whatnot. We saw a little picture slideshow on Instagram and other social media outlets of March, and evidently a Logan Paul and a Jake Paul in the photo, they're facing off with one another, but there's no meat to the photo other than a date. What do you take from that?
Listen, this is what I tell everybody, and everybody blew up, right? They're like, oh my God, Logan Paul, Jake Paul's fighting. But I was like, did the caption say that? And it didn't. This is the brilliance and the arrogance of the Paul brothers. It is
Good. That's
where
good.
they bait people. They literally let people promote them because now everybody's talking about it. And the Paul brothers, this is what I'm predicting is going to happen, B Money. The Paul brothers are going to come out and go, what are you guys talking about? We never said that we were fighting. We just posted a face off. Like, what are you guys talking about? Because some people are railing them because they're like, we don't want to see that fight. We don't want to see brothers fight. So people are already railing that,
Just want to see it
saying stuff
anyways.
like that, which is fine. I don't, to be honest, I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm totally 100% with you on this one, that I'm completely tired of the Paul brothers. I'm just, I'm,
I feel like it's just on its.
my,
I feel like it's in the seventh or eighth inning. I
yeah,
just feel like it's getting there.
I can see that. And I think that what is gonna happen is that their final like farewell party, they might fight each other. But I do think that they both have a couple, one or two fights left, meaning like Conor McGregor's up there for one of them to fight. I don't know who's gonna fight him, but one of them's there. That'll
Yeah,
probably sell as much as I don't
it
want that to
will. It
happen.
will. It's just, ugh.
Exactly. Exactly. It gives me a little bit of a stomach ache, even to
Yeah.
think about it, but it will sell. But for me, we do a boxing podcast, right? And we talk about real boxing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've given Jake Paul some credit because he has done some things. He has, and he promotes some real
I'll give
boxers.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But he's losing me a little bit on the relevance factor on the real boxing scene. I'm
Yeah.
going to give him credit for being he's a very good
Promotion
showman.
side.
He's a
Yeah.
very good salesman, and he's doing pretty well with that. But eventually that rails out. That'll run out too, because I don't think there's any teeth now behind his stuff
I feel
because
like
there's no grip.
yeah. I completely agree with that sentiment and statement. Uh, I wonder if this whole March thing and them, facing off, I wonder if it's just going to be like promoting another product. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, haha, gotcha. Here's another body spray. Here's another prime energy drink or whatever. Just
yeah.
like just a second rate thing that we're going to sell a lot of because our name is attached to it. I just wonder if it's going to be something like that, or are they going to come out with another like random fight league? Seems to have their own fight league now. Are they going to come out with something in March? Because I don't, I we talked once again off camera. It's like I don't think they're fighting because Logan has commitments with WWE, and I believe WrestleMania is the next month. I would be surprised if his contract even allows that a
Yeah,
month prior.
yeah.
And he's very athletic, and he's a draw there. So that's why I just kind of question if it's something legitimate or if they're just selling us something in March.
I'm predicting there's going to be some sort of a documentary following them around
That's good.
because
Yeah,
that's what
that
I
could be.
think. They faced off, which made everybody think, "Oh my God, they're going to fight." But it's probably some sort of documentary that is following them around on both of their hemispheres of WWE, boxing,
Ugh.
entertainment, YouTube, blah, blah, blah.
Isn't that what
I
they've done?
think it's
Isn't
that.
that their whole life?
Yes,
That's how
exactly.
they became popular? Isn't that what they've
Exactly.
done their whole life? That's
Exactly.
all a documentary, their whole life.
I mean, yeah. They became famous on YouTube. So I think 100%. My prediction is that I don't, and listen, if they prove me wrong, cool. I've been on the show many times with you, B Money, where I've been wrong and I've ate crow and I've drank
Frank
swill
Swill. Yeah.
because I've been wrong. And I'm okay with admitting when I'm wrong because I'm not perfect. I'm not God. I do them wrong sometimes. I don't think I'm wrong on this one. I don't think they're fighting in March.
Mhm.
Okay. I think it's some sort of a promotion for something, but they're brilliant. They bait people. They don't even have to put a caption out there, B Money. And people ran with it. They
Yep.
were like, oh my God, the brothers are fighting. I
It's
was like,
immediately
actually,
trending on X. It's immediately,
yeah.
yeah, it's just, it doesn't take much for
I'm
them.
like, there was no teeth to that caption. It is a zero caption. They
Yeah.
didn't say we're fighting. They just said March something it could be the debut of this
Yeah.
documentary.
No teeth. They were just gumming us to death. What
So
else?
so
What else?
instantly a lot of guys were excited about that.
What else? What else? What else we got going on? What else we got?
I mean, I was just bringing up the topic of we talk about real boxing
Hmm?
and Jake's becoming a little irrelevant when on the real boxing scene. And we just interviewed a real professional boxing trainer
Hmm?
in Craig Duncan. So I like the fact that we're doing that and sticking to that a lot more. I'm not saying we're wrong for ever talking about Jake Paul. Like
No, 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 no,
he
no.
actually
Because it's
deserves to
boxing
be talked
news.
about. Yeah.
As much as we might not like it, it is
Yeah.
boxing relevant news. Especially, I'll give him the promotion credit. I mean, he's done a great job, and I think he's done right by women's boxing and things like that. So I have no complaint there. But I agree with you. It's like, okay, dude, like we get it. You put these fights together for yourself that do sell. You make a lot of money. But yeah, eventually push is going to come to shove. You got to start kind of working through like the normal boxing ranks too.
Yeah.
If you really want to quote unquote be a champion one day, like you got to fight like actual guys. Like I'm not trying to discredit his opponents that are in the fight game, but an act like specific to boxing, you got to start working your rank, through the, WBA whatever ranking, right? Or you got to start fighting
Yeah.
guys. Um, Anyways, but yes, you're right. Craig Duncan was on the show. Definitely, if you guys have not checked that out, check it out in our catalog and all of our In This Corner interviews. As we go forward on the podcast, we're going to start kind of just merging those into actual episodic content for the podcast as well. We've been posting them anyways on the audio source, so you'll get, if you're on Spotify and stuff, you'll see those notifications whenever we interview someone. It goes up as well. And then we have these podcast episodes, but we kind of want to figure out a way to kind of put it all together. But yeah, check it out because that was a great conversation that Weekend Trev had with Craig Duncan, Danger Duncan, who just recently opened his own boxing gym across town. I'm actually going to be there Saturday checking it out in the morning. So I'm looking forward to that and supporting Craig. Known him a long time, good friend of the show, and other boxers along the way too. I know we're trying to tee up a big time guest for the second time on this podcast. You guys can make guesses as to who that might be, but take a look at the guys that Weekend Trev has interviewed and just take a look at what might be the biggest interview in that. We're shooting for number two. It's hopefully coming. We shall see.
Number
Um,
two, but gonna be number one.
Number two on the number two on the show, or number one in your hearts,
Yeah,
or is
something
it
like
who
that.
does number two work for?
Who does number two work for?
What what else do we got?
Not us. So yeah, you know what? The boxing scene is a little quiet until February. We're in
Yeah,
March right
yeah.
now. It's a little quiet, but I think we're gonna have some blockbusters in February with the David Benavidez fight. I believe that Archer Beterbiev and Bivol are rematching in February as well. I believe that's in February. I think we're gonna get some big announcements because the Canelo versus Crawford fight is not finalized. It hasn't been signed. I believe some small things have been agreed upon, but I don't believe it's signed. But I do believe it's going to happen. But also, we're still waiting for a Canelo announcement of who he's going to fight
Yeah.
in May
May, yeah.
as well. So I mean, it's
And I think
it's up in the air.
And I think there's also it's either April or May. I think there's a big Riyadh season card put together. It's like Ryan Garcia taking on somebody, Devin Haney taking on
You're
somebody as
correct.
kind of like the
Yep.
preliminary possible where they meet each other again finally. Devin Haney hasn't fought in a year. He might as well have been under suspension. Like
Isn't
what's
that
been the point?
crazy?
What's the
Isn't that
point?
crazy, B Money?
Yeah,
The fact that
yeah.
Ryan Garcia got suspended for a year and Devin Haney, who technically didn't lose, he
He
hasn't
hasn't.
fought.
Yeah, it's wild. Oh well. Well, that's it. I mean, that's 173, right? That's the 173 in the books. If you haven't
That's it, baby.
subscribed yet, please do. On YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcasts, we're there. And if we're not, tell us because we want to be there. We'll figure out how to be on that platform. And then, YouTube and Rumble. Please subscribe. That does help us in our metrics and give a little thumb up as well if you like this content. Take a look at the other stuff we got. The interviews are very, very good, high quality stuff that we're putting out with good guests, great guests, and we look forward to bringing them on to the episode shows soon. Very, very soon. Weekend Trav, that's it for me. Any final thoughts?
Yes, I have to. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. I want to send out the deepest congratulations to one of our very good friends, Madison Keys, just won the Australian Open. Huge deal, massive deal. Congratulations, Madison.
Yes.
I am working on getting Madison on the show
I
as
would love it.
well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, congratulations, Madison Keys, on your massive victory. Her birthday is in February. Ironically enough, B Money, she shares a birthday with none other than Michael Jordan.
All right. The irony.
Not bad, not bad.
There you go. All right. Well, that's it, folks. That over there is the talent. Weekend Trav.
That there is B Money, aka producer, the man, the myth, the legend, the man that makes this podcast go round. B Money.
Right on. God bless.